Imagine if your favorite game just disappeared. Such is the world we live in, where any piece of media can be lost to the sands of time. No matter how small they may be, all video games are still part of history, and without the help of dedicated searchers, this media may be forever abandoned. You guys seem to enjoy my pilot episode, so let's dive in once again. Welcome back to the Lost Game Files. Kingdom Hearts is known for many things. Fun gameplay, loads of Disney characters, memorable music, a very convoluted storyline, but there's one non-canonical game out there that has been mostly lost to time, and that would be Kingdom Hearts VCast. What's that? VCast was a mobile phone service by Verizon Wireless. By paying a monthly fee, you could gain access to a variety of media services, including music, photos, videos, and yes, even a few games, including this one. Released as a launch title for the service in October 2004 in Japan and February 2005 in the US, Kingdom Hearts VCast was developed by Superscape and published by Disney Interactive. That's right, Square Enix had no part in the production of this title. The story follows Sora, Donald, Goofy, and Jiminy Cricket falling asleep during a voyage on their gummy ship. When Sora wakes up, he finds he's shipwrecked on a deserted island with the rest of the gang nowhere to be found. It's up to him and his new partner, a parrot named Ka, to find his friends and take down any Heartless in his way. Gameplay was similar to the original Kingdom Hearts, albeit simplified for mobile phone controls. Sora was mainly steered with tank controls, but he could still use the Keyblade and a variety of magic spells. The game was segmented into 4 chapters, each taking place in a different world. These were Swashbuckler's Island, an original location for this game, Wonderland, Agrabah, and Maleficent's Castle, presumably an alternate form of Hollow Bastion. In December 2012, Verizon closed down the VCast services, making it impossible to play this game unless you had it previously downloaded on a VCast-supported device. Sometime in 2016, a 4chan user going by the name Wedge dumped some game files online. Later, in February 2020, a YouTube user named KRZ1 was able to get chapters 1 and 3 running on the Zibo, this chunky digital console from Brazil. You pay $250 for Android games and shoddy ports of PS1 games. In 2009. Yeah. Thoughts on the Zibo aside, it's amazing to see this game running. The footage does show some technical faults, but it's more than functional. Additionally, in April 2022, YouTube user Negative Space uploaded camera footage of Chapter 4 running on original hardware. However, Chapter 2 still remains lost to this day. It's understandable to think something like this would be completely lost. An obscure mobile spin-off of a game series without the involvement of the original developers? You'd think this would be absolutely buried, but we've somehow come back with almost the entire game salvaged. Although this game's status is still only partially found, I have good faith that the full Kingdom Hearts VCast experience will be found in due time. After briefly bringing it up in my previous episode, before teaming up with Hideo Kojima for the now infamous PT, I feel it's obligatory to go properly in depth with the tale of Silent Hills. Our story begins on August 12th, 2014, when a mysterious game showed up on the PlayStation Store. This free download was titled PT and was developed by a team called 7780s Studios? It was strange, but many people thought they'd give this indie horror darling a shot. They would quickly find themselves wrapped in a first-person nightmare, filled with looping rooms to test your sanity, eerie radio transmissions, a fetus crying in a bathroom sink, and this eerie ghost woman following your every move. Despite the immense confusion and horror present, players were greatly rewarded upon beating all the abstract puzzles. The game would reveal itself to be a joint venture between Metal Gear creator Hideo Kojima, director Guillermo del Toro, and actor Norman Reedus. The name PT stood for Playable Teaser, and was a concept demo for a new Silent Hill game titled Silent Hills. The name 7780 Studio was a pseudonym for Kojima Productions and Konami, named after the area of Japan's Shizuoka Prefecture, or Quiet Hills. Ah, I see what you did there. All the big gaming YouTubers played this title back in the day. Markiplier, Jesse Cox, Game Grumps, Jacksepticeye, CoreX Kenshin, Critical, PewDiePie, Teens React, Blasphemous HD, Dan and Phil, H2O Delirious, Dashi, Angry Joe, John Wolf. You couldn't escape this game! Unfortunately, less than a year later, on April 29, 2015, PT was taken off the PlayStation Store. The whole Silent Hills project was subsequently cancelled. Why did this happen, though? Well, there was a lot of drama behind the scenes between Hideo Kojima and Konami. To keep a long story short, basically, Konami is a really bad place to work. Kojima vowed Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain would be his last production with the company. His last day was on October 9, 2015, but a non-compete agreement was active until December that same year. On top of that, Kojima was apparently even banned from attending the Game Awards 2015. Despite MGS5 winning Best Score/Soundtrack and Best Action/Adventure, Konami prevented Kojima from being there.
As you noticed, Hideo Kojima is not here with us tonight, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. Mr. Kojima had every intention of being with us tonight, but unfortunately he was informed by a lawyer representing Konami just recently that he would not be allowed to travel to tonight's awards ceremony to accept any awards. Hideo is in Tokyo right now watching the show, so we want you to know, Hideo, that we're thinking of you. And we miss you. We hope to see you at the Game Awards 2016.
In 2016, show host Jeff Keighley presented Kojima with an honorary Industry Icon Award. In an interview with Glixel, Keighley had this to say: "It was such a difficult time because Kojima was going through a lot last year. The fact that he finished that game under those circumstances is just amazing. He was locked in a separate room on a different floor than his development team for the final 6 months of development. He couldn't even talk to them. He had to talk through someone else. That's how that game was finished. Part of what kept me going this year was a belief that we had to be back on the same stage to give him his due, and give him the award that he was robbed of last year." Despite PT being delisted, many efforts have been made to salvage it. ROMs for the game can be found online with enough sleuthing, and even a couple of fan recreations have sprung up, although these haven't been without their issues. A remake in Project Spark, titled RT, was created by Xbox user Spawn N8NE. However, Project Spark servers were taken down in August 2016, making it impossible to play. An at the time 17-year-old developer named Kimsar fully recreated the game for PC, but this was struck down by Konami for legal issues. Another remake, this time using the Unreal Engine 4 and being in VR, was made by itch.io user Radius Gordello. Is it itch.io or itch.io? I've always called it itch.io, we'll go with that. However, this would also be taken down, not because of a cease and desist, but because of Radius Gordello's busy schedule and future original projects. Lastly, a mod was made for Half-Life Alyx by a Steam user named Ambient. However, this recreation is incomplete due to Ambient's busy schedule. But it hasn't been struck down by Konami and is still available on the Steam Workshop, so that's a good sign. Although the demo PT can still be played today with enough sleuthing, the full Silent Hills project seems to be completely abandoned, especially with Konami and Kojima Productions going their separate ways. This original vision will likely never come back to life. The dream team of Kojima, Del Toro, and Reedus would go on to collaborate on Death Stranding, but I think it's clear this is very different from what Silent Hills could have been. So, anyone remember this game? No? Good. Memeron was a real game released on the Wii U eShop on December 18th, 2014. This dankfest was developed by Ninja Pig Studios. It was an endless runner in which you play as this troll-faced stick figure, running through levels of Lenny faces and earning plenty of swag points. Yeah, I'm dead serious. This game was absolutely destroyed by critics, being deemed one of the worst games on the console, mostly due to its pure insanity, wonky controls, and $5 price tag. However, all of this didn't stop the creators from posting the game to Steam Greenlight on January 5th, 2015, in hopes of getting a PC release. The devs shared their ideas for Steam trading cards, emoticons, and even workshop support. These plans would not come to fruition, as the game would be removed from the Nintendo eShop on March 3rd, 2015. The reason for this is due to a DMCA takedown notice from the copyright holder of the trollface image. Kinda surprising this widely used image is technically copyrighted. But I mean, the Happy Birthday song was also copyrighted for a while. On June 6th, 2017, Steam Greenlight would be officially discontinued in favor of Steam Direct. This means that MemeRun's PC version would be totally abandoned. Although the Wii U release can be found easily online, the Steam version of MemeRun may never be released, whether it be due to legal issues, the outdated memes featured in the game, or the fact that it just kinda sucks. Super Mario's Wacky Worlds was poised to be a sequel to the SNES classic Super Mario World. Main difference is this game was instead being developed for the Philips CDI. Yes, that CDI.
I hope she made lots of spaghetti!
This game was being developed by Nova Logic, and would have taken place around the world as opposed to just in the Mushroom Kingdom. At least 6 level themes would have been implemented. Ancient, which consisted of Greek and Egyptian themed levels, Haunted, Jungle, Arctic, Wacky, presumably weird and colorful stages, and Tubular, which would have likely involved lots of tubes and warp pipes. Development of this prototype was super rushed. Developers Silas Warner and John Brooks supposedly worked 24 hours a day for 2 weeks to try and get stuff done. Not only that, but they only got it onto a disc 4 hours before they were set to present it to the Nintendo devs. Despite this massive crunch, Nintendo was apparently very impressed by what they had put together. Unfortunately, poor sales and reception of the CDI forced them to cancel the project. The most recent build of the game, version 0.11, was finished on March 3rd, 1993. At this point, around 80% of the game's artwork, 95% of its design, and 30% of its code were complete, and it really shows. Mario is only able to move left and right and jump, enemies can't hurt Mario and merely disappear when they're stomped on, and this M-shaped gate, presumably an end goal, doesn't function at all. Despite this, the game showed a lot of promise with its hand-drawn backgrounds and unique characters, including different Koopa Troopas themed to each world and these unnamed walrus enemies. This game may be cancelled, but hope is not lost. There are currently a few prototypes out in the wild. One of these was sold in an eBay auction for a whopping $1,000. Another was leaked onto the internet and can be played via an emulator or burned onto a disc for use on an actual CDI system. Had this been finalized, Nintendo's CDI history could have been a lot more positive as opposed to...
Aha! Here's the problem. Too many toasters. You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
The pre-alpha prototype version of Super Mario's Wacky Worlds has been found, but don't expect any newer builds to surface. Assassin's Creed, a series regarded by many as a breathtaking historical fiction adventure, or a glitchy Ubisoft franchise that's milked dry year after year. Yeah, it's divisive nowadays, but the name of Assassin's Creed and the protagonists Altair and Ezio still mean a lot to the gaming world today. The games can be played on nearly every system from the 7th, 8th, and 9th generation of game consoles, or even your phone if you so desire. However, one system is oddly missing, the Nintendo 3DS. Turns out there was a game in development for this system known as Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy. This was first announced at E3 2010 alongside Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Lost Legacy would have taken place after Brotherhood, following Ezio's quest to learn more about Altair. If this sounds a bit familiar, then that's because Lost Legacy was actually retooled into Assassin's Creed Revelations, which released for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC. In an interview with Joystick.com, writer Darby McDevitt confirmed that Lost Legacy was indeed cancelled and reworked. You may have heard of the game Lost Legacy for the 3DS. It was announced, but that kind of morphed into this idea. The story that was announced about Lost Legacy was that Ezio goes to Masyaf and investigates the Holy Land. The game would be quietly shelved in September 2010 and was later publicly confirmed in July 2011. No screenshots, videos, or playable builds have been found of Lost Legacy, only the logo. It seems very unlikely that anything will ever peek its head since Revelations exists. Anything that may have existed for this game was likely deleted and overwritten with work for Revelations. Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy may be abandoned forever with no hopes of finding any traces ever again. Before the world was graced with Super Mario Maker, another customizable platformer was in the works over at Capcom. Mega Man Universe was first officially announced at PAX 2010, slated for a spring 2011 release for Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. This game would have allowed users to create their own Mega Man stages and share them online, much like what Mario Maker would end up doing 4 years later. Multiple versions of Mega Man would have been available: the original Mega Man, the Japanese Mega Man, also known as Rockman, and Bad Box Art Mega Man, referencing the infamously inaccurate American box art of Mega Man 1. On top of that, players would have had the choice of playing as Ryu from Street Fighter, Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, or even their own custom Mega Man characters by combining different abilities and stats, such as life energy or jump height. DLC was even planned, namely a Mega Man version of Japanese mascot Gachapin. 2 public demos were playable, one in September 2010 for the Tokyo Game Show, and another the following month for New York Comic-Con. However, Capcom announced on March 31st, 2011 that the game was unfortunately cancelled due to various circumstances. Great timing, guys, great timing. It's presumed the game was shelved due to the negative reception towards the art style and finicky controls, or as a result of the Tohoku earthquake. On March 11th, 2011, the Tohoku region of Japan was struck by a 9 to 9.1 magnitude earthquake, followed by a devastating onslaught of tsunami waves reaching 40.5 meters, or 133 feet high. Many projects around Japan were halted or terminated to focus all efforts on the victims of this disaster. It's safe to say Mega Man Universe could have been one of these. In a June 2011 interview with IGN, Capcom America's then Senior Vice President Christian Svensson had this to say about Mega Man Universe. It was pretty far in production. I will say that we weren't pleased with where it was, collectively at Capcom, as a product from a quality standpoint. We opted to say, you know what, it's probably better that this not come out as opposed to it coming out and not necessarily giving the experience we want people to have. I know that's hard for fans to hear because they want to try it and want to play it, it doesn't matter what it is. In October 2014, a Rockman Corner user by the name of Protodude found patent information about what could have been included in Mega Man Universe's level editor. The patent details the ability to freely customize the offensive and defensive power of both Mega Man and the enemies. Additionally, a quality assurance system would be in place. Impossible and instant death stages would not have been allowed for upload. However, creators of well-designed levels would be rewarded with in-game currency for extra items and abilities. Nothing from the game has been seen since. Although playable versions were displayed at the aforementioned Tokyo Game Show and New York Comic-Con, neither of these builds have found their way onto the internet. I want to say this could likely be revived in the future, seeing the huge success of Mario Maker 1 and 2, but then again, it's Capcom. Hopefully these demo builds find their way into someone's hands. But for now, Mega Man Universe is doomed to remain in the scrapyard. Here's a deep cut. Anybody remember the Nick Arcade? Not the TV show, I mean the website. This was a part of Nick.com that allowed kids to play games based on Nickelodeon properties, most notably SpongeBob. There were a bunch of different offerings: Krabby Quest, SpongeBob Monopoly, SpongeBob Diner Dash, and the absolute classic 3D Obstacle Odyssey. Oh hell yeah. But perhaps the most notable of these, at least to Lost Media aficionados, is SpongeBob SquarePants Saves the Krusty Krab 3D. This 2002 game was developed with 3D Groove. This was a game engine designed by the Groove Alliance that was mostly meant for cartoon and advertising tie-ins like this. Most 3D Groove games had an online version that could be played in a web browser, and a downloadable version with more content. Of course, the downloadable version was initially a timed free trial, the menace of every gaming childhood. Seriously, this dreaded soundbite has been baked into the back of my mind for years.
Warning, you have less than 2 minutes to play before your free trial ends.
Anyways, SpongeBob SquarePants Saves the Krusty Krab 3D was a basic collect-a-thon. The summary reads, "The evil plankton has stolen all the Krusty Krab's Krabby Patties and littered them all over the ocean floor. Mr. Krabs is terrified. Can SpongeBob collect all the Krabby Patties before opening time and save the Krusty Krab? Probably." The online version only featured SpongeBob as a playable character, but the download version added Patrick and Squidward. Other than that, it's just a 3D platformer to grab Krabby Patties. The game was considered lost for quite a long while, being impossible to load until March 31st, 2015. Lost Media Wiki user KoboChat leaked a functional trial of the download version of the game. Later on, another user by the name of Tommy's Shadow removed the time limit and made the game playable on modern machines, which is really nice. I know it's weird for such a simple SpongeBob game to have such a devoted search, but hey, never underestimate the SpongeBob fandom. Thanks to the efforts of these devoted fans, SpongeBob SquarePants Saves the Krusty Krab 3D has been saved for years to come. Let's finish things off with one of the most iconic video game characters of all time.
Here comes Pac-Man.
Before making a splash with the Pac-Man World Trilogy, he would have starred in a different 3D platformer called Pac-Man Ghost Zone. This game was poised to be about a young boy who stumbles upon a Pac-Man arcade machine and starts insulting it like he's some die-hard Call of Duty player.
Pac-Man? Is this old thing even still here? Nobody ever plays it. No 3D, no fighting, no blood. Where's the fire button? This is so lame. This game's for my grandma. Stupid old game. You stink.
Yo, little jack, stick in a quarter, and I'll show you who stinks.
This outrages the ghosts and their leader, the Ghost Lord, who use their pixel cannon to suck the boy into the game and transform him into Pac-Man. It's up to him to defeat the ghosts and find a way out of the machine. Supposedly, development of this game was very frustrating. Firstly, Namco Home Tech, a US-based division of Namco, were pretty much forced to make a Pac-Man game but couldn't use the real Pac-Man? Thus the whole transformation plot point. To quote Namco producer Brian Shore, Ghost Zone didn't have its own identity. It wasn't Pac-Man. It was a yellow guy inside of a mechanical world that didn't make sense. Secondly, many developers on the team were inexperienced or uninterested in the project, and Home Tech weren't allowed to hire or fire anyone without Namco's approval. Thirdly, in mid-1997, a demo was shown to Namco's then-president Masaya Nakamura. Although he loved the concept, he absolutely despised the game itself and stormed out of the room. Development continued, albeit with a more rushed schedule, and almost every Home Tech employee was fired. According to designer Scott Rogers, "We built a playable demo, and even though there was some fun gameplay, the game just never felt right. The environments all felt too much the same, and it was lacking a sense of grandeur found in other games like the recently released Mario 64. Japan must have felt the same way too. When we flew to Japan and presented it to Namco president Nakamura-san, he was very displeased. As a result, almost the entire team, save one designer, myself, One programmer, Gil Colgate, and one artist, Neil Strudwick, were fired, and we had to start again on what eventually became Pac-Man World. In June 2021, assets for the game, including 3D models and textures, were revealed to the public by former Namco artist Bernie Bernstone. Then, in April 2022, the Hidden Palace released a dump of the game's demo. Well, sort of. This demo isn't in any kind of playable form. It's merely a video showing off gameplay and FMV sequences from the game. Pretty much the only interactivity is pressing start to reset the demo. I'm going to mark this game as lost for now. Although we do have a ROM dump available, it's just a video showcase. The archival site PlayStation Museum does have a prototype, but it has not made its way to public hands yet. Will we get this playable version in the near future? Possibly. Will it be any good? Probably not. A grittier Pac-Man platformer does have a lot of potential, but given the supposedly rough tank controls and negative reaction from Nakamura, it's probably for the best that we got Pac-Man World instead. These were just a few of the many lost video game case files on record. Although this was a smaller selection than last time, plenty of these games still deserve the attention of archivists and gaming fanatics the world over. If you'd like to help in the hunt, I recommend visiting the Lost Media Wiki and Unseen64 to learn more. Thank you for watching this second installment. Save complete.